Hey, what's up, y'all? It's me here, Michael Franti, and welcome to the Stay Human podcast. And as you know, if you're a long-time listener, that the premise of our show is that there's no one that you wouldn't love if you knew their story. And I'm super excited to have this guest that we have today. He's an incredible entrepreneur. He's a thinker. He's a disruptor in the apparel world. And please welcome to the show, Russ Hopcus. How you doing, Russ?
I'm well, Michael. How are you doing?
I'm doing awesome, man. Like I said, I've been following what prAna does because I'm a yogi, and like every yogi studio in the world that I've ever gone to, if they didn't have prAna clothes in the front lobby of the place, there was somebody in there who either had a mat or had something that they were wearing, and so I'm excited to meet you because you know, this industry of yoga and of outdoor clothing and all these things, it's a big, huge market, but not everybody is as focused as you guys are on, you know, sustainability, responsible packaging, fair trade. And I just want to just dig in deep about how that became a part of what you guys do, of how it's part of your personal DNA. And just who you are and how you came to be, you know, this person in this company. So, tell me about just where you were raised.
Well, I was born in Los Angeles, California. I still consider myself a Los Angelino. If you know the LA area, I was born in a little town called Linwood, which is South LA, right between Compton and Watts. Wow. And then I was raised kind of more in East LA. My dad is from East LA, grew up in Montebello. So we kind of moved around the East LA suburbs, Pico Rivera, La Puente, Hacienda Heights. So yeah, I still consider LA as being my spiritual home.
You're a true Angelino.
It's true Angelino. Not many of us, although I haven't lived there in a long, long time. It still kind of tugs at the heartstrings when I go back.
So what was LA like at that time when you were growing up?
You know, I got to think about this is God's 60s, you know, and LA itself was crazy. By the time that the riot struck out, we were over on the east side. I don't have a lot of recollection of that. I was just a little kid playing in the suburbs, you know, and it was a free time like the 60s were. We were able to ride our bikes around and create havoc and come home when we want to come home. You know, it's a little different than raising kids today. But it was a great place to grow up. Like I said, most of my entire family was based in that area, or living in that area.
Tell me about your family. Do you have brothers and sisters?
Yeah, I have an older sister, Diane. She lives down in the desert, down in Palm Springs. She's a desert rat. She's been down there for years. My mother and father have since passed. My father died at a very young age, at the age of 48. My mother, she just passed 3 years ago. And my wife, who's my high school sweetheart, we could talk about that. That's fun. It's coming up on 40 years now of marriage with her.
That's awesome.
We have two daughters.
Wow.
What's
her name?
Her name's Lori. And two daughters. My oldest daughter, Danielle, her and her husband, Alex, live up in Seattle. They just had their first baby, our first grandchild. And my daughter, Alyssa, youngest daughter, she's living out in Boston, and her partner, Katie, just got engaged. So 2020, as bad as it was, we brought in our first grandchild, and my youngest daughter got engaged, and she's set to get married this year. So some happiness around all this craziness.
That's all great stuff. I'm curious, how old were you when your father passed away?
I was just had turned 18.
Okay.
Yeah.
So was he a big part of your life growing up? Were you guys close as a kid?
You know, we weren't, and we weren't, Michael. We early on, he worked, man. He just worked his butt off, and my recollections of him were this one stage in my life, probably from the age of around 12 or 13 to 18. I really feel like I only had about 5 years with him, and again, I grew up primarily in those LA suburbs. But when I was 12, we moved up to a little community called Thousand Oaks. He took another job, and he had a little bit more time. He worked 7 days a week. I mean, every Sunday we went to church. Every other Sunday we went to my grandparents' house. It was just like that. We didn't really take a lot of vacation. So He tried really hard, I think, the last few years of his life to really connect, and we did connect. I feel probably because he's been gone so long, I had a much stronger relationship with my mother. She had probably a little bit greater influence on my life than my dad, to be truthful.
Yeah. And so when you were a kid growing up, what kind of things were you into? And you mentioned bike riding and just kind of ripping around the neighborhood, but were you into sports? Were you an athletic person, or were you into other things in school? Or
Yeah, I was into sports. I was big time baseball. I mean, I played baseball all through high school, played football in high school. I always had a glove on my hand, and a ball in the other hand, and I was ready to play all the time. And it helped. We moved a lot, as I mentioned, as a kid. We probably moved 4 or 5 times by the time I was 12. And sports I found to be a really great avenue for me. I played okay. I excelled in it. And so it enabled me to really quickly make traction, adapt to a new community, new set of friends. And but yeah, I still love the game. Still a big Dodger fan.
Nice. Well, you guys have had some good years recently. So
yeah, that was another thing. Another nice thing that happened in 2020 as well. I got to say, it's been a long time. I've been hoping for that. Right.
From a Giants fan to a Dodger fan, I'm giving you props, and that means a lot coming from us San Franciscans.
All right, appreciate that. Thank you.
So what were the biggest challenges for you as a kid growing up? You're an athlete. You're going to different cities. You're trying to fit in and other communities. What were the hardest parts of that?
Yeah, great question. I mean, I think the most difficult was just adapting initially. Friends, new environment, new school, teachers, all the stuff that you're going through as a kid of trying to kind of fit in anyways. Like I said, I was fortunate to be able to play baseball and play decently. So that came a little more naturally, but it was still a challenge. And as difficult as it was during those times, I think I've drawn upon those times in my own life to adapt. I consider that one of my strengths, is to be able to adapt in any situation. And certainly it's been helpful over this last year. But that was a real challenge. It didn't last long for me. I get through things fairly quickly. So once I got up and running, it didn't bother me nearly as much. But yeah, it was tough. Yeah, at times.
I come from an athletic background too, and I always found that sports, like you said, they helped me to it was kind of an icebreaker with other kids, with other people, and it was this thing that, like, if I worked hard at it, I could see my progress, and that was the thing that I loved about it the most. I didn't always like all the coaches. I didn't always like going to practice, but I felt this ability in myself start to grow. That was like, wow, if I dribble with my left hand, now it's getting easier. Now I can shoot a left-handed layup, but now I can, and so there was just like these little measuring blocks that came along, and some of them were physical, like I just mentioned, but a lot of them were emotional things of having those connections with other athletes and other players. And you mentioned that kind of helped you. How does it help you in what you do now today?
I mean, it doesn't come easy to excel at anything, right? It takes a lot of work. I learned that early on. It's actually been instilled in me by both of my parents. I mean, just hard work in general, whether it's working, whether it's sports, whatever it might be. So you've got to put the time in. You can't just check the box and assume it's going to work. So definitely hard work. But I think looking back on my childhood, I always loved that sense of team and playing a team sport. That's what I really sit in today. I don't see myself as, yes, I'm leading a company, but I really see myself as a teammate of another 124 people at prAna, working toward the same goals. And I've always really valued that. I've never seen myself as a singular athlete or a singular human being or a singular worker. I always feel at my best when I'm part of a team. And also understanding that part of that is it's not just one person that's going to drive success for any particular team. The positions that I did play, though, I really enjoyed because they were leadership positions. So I always found in baseball, really the leader is the catcher. There might be a few people that debate that, but it's the catcher. In football, I played middle linebacker, and that was the leader. And I really found that I took to that. I love being able to assume that responsibility. as part of the team. So there was a leadership lesson, I think, early on. And I found that even when I was 12 or 13 years old, I found that if I did a decent job, that people would respond, and we as a team at least would function better. We might not win every game. That's a great lesson to learn as well. You don't win all the time. Your greatest lessons are in losing. But that was a bit of my childhood and playing baseball. It's team sports has been really, really powerful for me.
So then when you graduated from high school, and your dad passed away right at that time, and did you feel like a deep sense of loss? Was there a long period of mourning, or how was that being an 18-year-old and losing your father?
Oh, well, heavy question. You think I've got so many years after it. I still think about him every day. It was really, really difficult. As I mentioned, I felt like I only had him for a few years prior to him getting sick. So there's the death, but there's also the 2 years leading up to the death, from diagnosis to death, and the roller coaster of emotions that you're going through as a 16-year-old. My sister had moved away, so it was really my mother, my father, and me. My mother was a waitress. She worked every day. So I spent a bit of time, especially toward the end, really caring for him. It was just really difficult. It's hard to put into words. I'm not alone. We've all gone through our challenges. That just happened to me at a very young age. I was blessed to have some really, really good friends by my side, and even at that young age, and I realized the value of friendships and relationships. One of those friendships was a relationship that she's still my wife. So we learned a lot about each other during that time as well. And I had to grow up. You got the old saying, you kind of grow up fast. Things get serious really, really quickly. It really pushed my mother's and my relationship a lot as well. So I see a great benefit out of it. We got really close. A lot closer after that, but it was a challenge. It was tough. My father wasn't one that was pushing any particular outcome in my life professionally, right? His thing was he was a mechanic. From a mechanic to a salesman to a branch manager of a Caterpillar dealership. His whole dream for me would be a couple years of junior college, brother. You come on over, you can work for me, and you can sell forklifts. I mean, that was like my my early teens. That's what I was going to do, right? Hey, I make a couple bucks. I'm going to sell forklifts. I didn't have any beyond. I mean, of course, that was assuming I didn't become a professional baseball player, which very good chance I wasn't going to do that. But beyond the dreaming, and that's what I was going to do. So when he left,
did you seriously consider that? Was that like in your head, like you might? Sell forklifts? Is that part 100%. Of your plan, or was it okay?
Michael, 100%. Because I didn't know what else.
Yeah.
I was never. I had passions. My passions were limited, and professionally, I was never looking out to think, what can I do? Who can I be? It just didn't occur to me at that young age. And anyway, so I when he passed, there I was, and thinking, okay, crap, now what? I'm not going to go work for my dad. What am I going to do? And I thought, 2 years of JC, I think I need 4 years of college. I need some time to think this out. And anyway, so I ended up going to college. It took me 7 years to go to college, full-time job, worked my way through college. I was working in a sneaker shop at the Oaks Mall in Thousand Oaks, working full-time, going to school part-time. And it just took me forever. Again, hard work, perseverance. There was no way that I was going to.
Where did you go to school?
I went to high school in Thousand Oaks and college at Cal State Northridge. So wanted to stay close to my mother for obvious reasons. My girlfriend at the time and then wife, we got married at a very young age, and 22. So she was there and she was going to the same school, and it gave me time to figure it out. At the same time, I was working in this retail environment, and it went from stocking shoes to store manager to a district manager. So I was overseeing 7 stores while going to college. And that's when I started to look out at the professional world and say, what do I want to do? What can I be? Wow. Who can I become? And that's when the light bulb started coming off. And that was magic. And I saw this industry, this athletic industry that, God, this plays into who I am. I can identify with this. I'm around people that share my passions for sport. yet I can turn this into a profession. Really, I can make money doing this,
Wow.
selling
Yeah.
sneakers. So it evolved from that. Graduated, and then I got into the kind of on the other side of the business, the branded side of the business. Eventually.
Wow. And at that time, what was Lori doing?
Lori was, she finished school before I did, of course. And she went to work for a financial management company out of West LA. They did diversified funds and so forth. And she did marketing communications, excelled, did very well, very quickly. She's wickedly smart, brilliantly creative. And so she had a nice little career going. Yeah.
And so what was the next step? Once you started to see these things gel, like, maybe I could do something in this world. What point did you think, like, maybe I don't have to work for the man anymore or something?
Really quickly. I mean, it was really quick. I could recall when I was working in the sneaker store, and our sales reps would come by. The Nike sales rep, the Adidas sales rep, et cetera, would come by, and I would see these guys, and I think, wow, okay. They're dressed pretty casually. They're making decent money. They're driving decent cars, and athletics was booming at the time. Running was booming. Nike was just coming up.
What year was this? Like early 80s, late 70s?
This early 80s, yeah, early 80s. And so things were just starting to really blow up commercially with sneakers and athletics in general, commercially. And I saw that, and I thought, you know what, I could do that. That would be a fun job. I don't have to be in an office. I can service, accounts. I mean, the freedom appealed to me. Working in an industry, the athletic industry really appealed to me. I love being with people. I love meeting new people. That appealed to me. And that's what I pointed my sights at. That I'm going to graduate from college, and I'm going to do that. At least I'll start there, and then I can figure out what I want to do beyond that. Yeah.
So what was your first job after that?
I worked for a sales agency. So in the athletic world, you have these sales reps that work directly for a company, and then you have reps that work for the agencies that represent multiple brands. So I went to work for a sales agency, small sales agency out of Southern California. We had a few lines. They weren't all that great. A few brands that we represented, they weren't all that great. It was tough. Think back the days before, I age myself again, but the age before cell phones and laptops and the internet. And I was ripping yellow pages out of phone books and in phone booths to try to find new accounts to sell to, man. And in that world, you're independent, you pay your own expenses. And I can remember after the first year, I think I'd made $3,000 when it was all said and done. $3,000. So luckily, Lori was doing well. Wow. And I questioned myself, like, oh my God, I had this, like, I thought I was set. I thought this was what I wanted to do. It's like, can I make this work? Ended up changing, went to another agency, spent 7 years with them. And that's when things started to go better. We had a lot greater brands that we represented. And I was able to learn a lot from my peers that I worked with.
Yeah. So how did prAna come about?
Boy, you're going to fast forward now a lot of years in a career that's moved all over, literally and figuratively. I went to work for Columbia Sportswear in 2014. Columbia Sportswear owns prAna now. At the time, they didn't, but they purchased prAna. Gosh, it was 2015, I think it was, and actually, take that 2013. I went to work at Columbia, so it was a year later they purchased prAna. I'd always been a fan of prAna's, been in the industry for some time. I've always appreciated the product. If you look at the outdoor industry, it's full of a lot of khaki and plaid, and prAna was one of those cool brands that brought a little coolness to the outdoor world. Above and beyond that, purpose orientation. I mean, they cared about the products that they made. They cared about how they made them. So once I learned of them and bought their products, I was really drawn to them. And I was really, really fortunate that after a couple of years of under Columbia's ownership, they asked me to head down to Carlsbad and lead the business. And haven't looked back. It's been really, really fun. I was not looking to make a shift in my career at that point, but being such a fan of the brand, also the culture, I was able to get a sneak peek at some of the culture early on, and really wanted to be part of that.
Yeah. When you got to the company, what were some of the things that were really awesome that you thought, man, they're really on the right path? And then where were some of the places that you thought, well, maybe we could shift this or change this dynamic or go in another direction? What were the kinds of things that you, as you looked at it from 30,000 feet, how did you evaluate it?
Well, in terms of what was going well, there are two things that really stood out and actually kind of blew me away. Just one is the absolute 100% full stop commitment to sustainability, to doing good. And it rolls throughout the entire organization. The team is committed. Everybody is committed. It surprised me just in the level of commitment. So that was one. Two, the culture it's very difficult to describe. And, but it is one of the most special cultures I've ever been part of. I always felt as I got there, my number one goal was just not to screw that up and hopefully be able to add to that, understanding that culture evolves with time and, et cetera. But, those are the two things that I felt really, really strong about. The things that were challenging at the time were, we weren't really a company that was, I don't believe, focused on, although our product was really great, I felt like we needed to create a little more energy and celebration around the product. I also felt that we had been really kind of a leader in style within the outdoor, but style had changed over the years, and felt that we weren't really in the position that we could have been in at the time to really lead in that area. And we've been really, really focused on both on that, as well as really reshaping and refreshing our message around sustainability and how we communicate that to our customers. So we've been spending a lot of time on product, a lot of time on how we message, and certainly continue to spend just a ton of time on how we can continue to do more good.
Yeah. It used to be that there was just a handful of companies that were thinking about sustainability or thinking about fair trade. And now it's like everyone is, or most companies are, and especially in the outdoor space, and especially in the yoga space. And how is it that you guys today really differentiate yourself from other brands?
We look at it in three different ways. So if you're looking at it just through the lens of sustainability, there are a lot of brands that are doing a lot of great things. So it's hard to say that we're different because of, I can tell you what we're committed to that might be different than what others are committed to. But what's been really important for us since, the company was founded in the early 90s. We're almost 30 years old. Almost immediately, we looked at sustainability as being important. The founders looked at it. In fact, we got into organic cotton, almost 20 years ago, and recycled polyester. Then it just went on and on. But we've really centered ourselves around a couple of things. One is certainly as it relates to the materials that we select. Our entire line is, all of our cottons used is 100% organic cotton. We are dedicated to fair trade. Almost half of the product that's purchased that we build and sell are made in fair trade factories. We're really proud of that, with an aggressive goal of being 100% fair trade by 2028. So we're well on our way. And then if you think about, just pull the product away and think about how product is packaged. Yeah. And I mean, the amount of plastic that's out in the world in total, I mean, it's mind-boggling. Yeah. And it started in one of our stores. We have a store in Boulder, and they took a photograph of all this plastic from all of our product. It said, seriously? And it sparked the company, it sparked the team to say, okay, let's do something about it. So we committed ourselves to eliminate plastic from all of our packaging. We're really close to that goal. And we will have accomplished that goal by the end of this year, end of 2021. And we've most recently invited others to join us through what we call our responsible packaging movement. And we have, almost 50 brands that have signed up. Brands that are in our space, outside of our space.
What are some of the solutions? We think of packaging, we think of, oh, well, there's a t-shirt, let's throw it in a plastic bag and seal it shut. So what do you guys do as alternatives?
We found a really cool alternative. We've worked with our factories, and we roll pack. So if you purchase a product that's not in plastic or paper today from us, which is the majority of our product, it'll be roll packed with a raffia tie. Really simple. Okay. Raffia, you can take it, recycle. It's compostable. So yeah, it's super, super simple. The areas that we found that were difficult though with that would be in some of the super lightweight products, whether it be our swimwear, our light color products, white, sometimes denim, which has a tendency to the finish tends to come off. So we had to find a solution for that, and we have through a variety of recycled paper products that we're introducing into our line for packaging this year. But that was it's sometimes the most brilliant innovations come through the simplest approaches, right?
The simplest thing.
But you look at supply chains, you ask a large company to go and put a raffia tie around all the product they're shipping, it becomes a bit of a challenge. For us, we were able to master it early. We work really closely with our factories. We train our factories or help train our factory workers. And it works. It's a really clever solution.
Wow. That's something that we've dealt with here at our hotel. And one of the reasons was just out of kind of basic survival, because we're in the jungle and we don't have like a trash company or a recycling company that comes and picks up our stuff. And so every bit of plastic that we use here, it ends up becoming this big pile, and it doesn't go away until we take it away. And so we've had to take steps along the way, just by providing everyone who comes here with cloth bags that's on their bed when they check in. Right on. We use bamboo straws here, and everything is it's kind of like out of our own personal survival, really, because we're so isolated here. But the world is in a place now where we need that kind of leadership, where we need people who are going to step up and say, hey, the world is like that little place in the jungle. We can't afford to have this coming all the time. But if we don't have people in leadership who are willing to stand up and say that, we're going to go in this other direction. And this year, or in the last 4 years, we've been under a president who really has rolled a lot of those things that we've fought so hard for environmentally back. And it's been, I believe, become more important for businesses to show up in that way. You mentioned that you guys are working within this, a consortium of people, of other businesses who are doing that. And what has your experience been in just hearing these other leaders from other companies? What are they saying about how to show up for this?
The good news is it's on the radars of the smallest and largest companies in the world. And when you have H&M talking about, or Costco or Walmart talking about sustainability and packaging, there's a chord that's been struck. So what we're hearing from those that we work with are very much, everybody as passionate as us to eliminate plastic. They understand that there's a real issue and they want to be part of it. Michael, we're little in the game of retail and impact. We're small, but it doesn't matter. We can, I think the lesson here is anybody just control your space. Just do what you can and then invite others where you can and share what you do to see if that can help somebody else. And that's how we've approached it. In some cases, we've cold called and asked other companies if they want to be part of this movement with us and let us share our experience with you. In other cases, they've come to us, and we've gotten amazing feedback from whether it be a fashion brand like Amara Hoffman, whether it be brands that are in our space like Burton and Merrill, Trek Bicycles, called us and signed on to the movement. So we're seeing it come in a lot of industries, and people understand that we are responsible for the plastic and the trash that's in the ocean today. We are responsible for that. So we need to be the solution to that. And I'm really proud of prAna and the efforts that we put forth for the many, many years to get after this, and super proud of the fact that by the end of this year, we'll have nailed it from our side. Now, that's just the packaging. We've also eliminated all those little Swift tags, those little tags that hang your tag, the little plastic pieces that your tags hang on. Eliminated all of that. I mean, it's all those little things upstream, downstream that you have to really take a look at and address. But we've been really kind of humbled by the response that we've had from many different brands and companies that we've been in contact with. It's been really fun. And if they haven't signed on to our movement, they're already doing something. It doesn't mean that just because they're not signed on our movement doesn't mean they're not doing something on their own. So there's more than a groundswell right now of energy around this.
Yeah. I'm looking at the prAna sign behind you, and I see the compass there.
Yeah.
And when I think of a compass, and it's like, for those of you who are just listening, there's a prAna. It says clothing for positive change, and there's a very large old school compass. It's not a GPS. It's analog, and it speaks to me of like adventure. And I'm that kind of person where I love going to places I've never been before. I love meeting people I've never met before. I love eating foods I've never met, listening to music I've never tried before. How does that play into what prAna is all about?
Well, at our very heart, we're adventurers. I mean, we explore. We love new things. We love to actually be able to enable those to explore as well. And I'd say it's the enablement that's the big part for us.
Yeah.
Part of that sign that you see that says clothing for positive change, we have 3 pillars built out under that mantra. And one of those is adventure for all. So really, that's the one that inspires us to it centered initially around, and still really around, inclusivity, but really opening up the outdoors for everybody and enabling those to do that. Another pillar under that is around respect and responsibility, and that plays into our sustainability. And then this notion of progress, not perfection. So when we're on our journey, when we're on our path, when we're out exploring, it's okay to screw up, man. That's how you learn. Let's make mistakes. Let's learn. Let's grow. And it's a real humble approach to how we get after the business. But yeah, I'm really happy that you saw that, because we actually used that at a meeting last year, and that was the whole notion. We're controlling our path. We're on this journey. It's our journey. Let's go where we want to go. Yeah, we have a roadmap. Yes, we know where we want to go, but sometimes that journey takes you left and sometimes right. There's not a direct line from where we're going right now to where we want to be, and let's be prepared for that.
Yeah. Wellness has taken on a whole new perspective in my mind and my heart since the pandemic started. Yeah. Used to be like wellness was like, I went to a yoga class on Thursday. I had an organic salad on Saturday. I'm cool. I'm well, and then COVID hit, and it was kind of like, wow, if I don't take care of myself, I could freaking die,
Right.
And if I am in my home under isolation, am I super stressed out? Like, what am I doing to manage my stress? Are the relationships that I have in my life, are they healthy? Is the food that I'm eating the best quality? And not only is it the best quality, do I enjoy it? Like, am I digging the food that I eat? Is it tasty? And I think of wellness so much more than just like going to the gym once a week or going to a yoga class once a week. Wellness is about how we feel and how what is our happiness ultimately. And like you said, are we experiencing life enough to make those mistakes and get back up and feel like it's all part of the cycle, and that we're not just dragged down by that one thing that we did wrong that now we can't sleep over. How is your experience with the pandemic? How has it affected you? But then also in a larger sense, how do you feel like it's affected everyone's ideas about wellness?
Oh, wow. I'll start with me. Then I think it's probably similar to what everybody else, which you just described in terms of the impact it's having on everybody. It's been a challenge on so many different levels. To start with, just the interpersonal part of this, and not being able to keep your relationships in the same way that they used to be kept, right? This feeling sometimes of isolation. I mean, we're so fortunate. My wife and I were so fortunate to have each other. We've got our dog. We're living in a home. We've got a roof over our head. There are a lot of people in the world that don't have that and are suffering far greater than we are. But it's still a sense of isolation. And again, we're fortunate to have each other to talk to. And I think of those people that don't have that. I've always been athletic. I've always been, call it, relatively fit, and I run, I bike ride, and what have you. But I found that wasn't enough for this. I always thought that those were the two things that really help control my mental nature, and they help certainly. But I got into meditation, and I had dabbled a little bit, but never really committed to it. And for the last 10 months, I've committed to it. And I found that that's really helped me quite a bit.
Yeah.
Just to breathe, which ironically, prana means breath in Sanskrit, right? But just to breathe, just to learn how to breathe, learn how to slow down, and learn how to erase noise. And that I use it. I don't want to say I use it every day, but several times throughout the week, I'll use it when I find myself to start to get to that point again. So it's been a real challenge. And I think a lot of people are going through that as well. And you see, I mean, there's the fitness side of things that you see throughout the pandemic. The sales of aerobic gear, or actually the yoga gear, active wear, Peloton, I mean, home fitness in general. I mean, that's all exploded, which is great. I'm glad people need to be taking care of themselves physically for sure. But we're also seeing the same thing happen through our meditation apps are at an all-time high. People are really are beginning to really care about that side of it. It certainly helped me. I think it's been kind of a game changer for me. It's really surprised me at how much something as simple, a gift that we were given to breathe can help you. I mean, it's just, again, it's the simple stuff. You don't need to buy a lot of gear for that. Just sit in a quiet room, put on some light music, preferably the mantra, and just breathe.
Yeah. Well, when it is that simple, why make clothes? Like what do you guys bring into the world, or what is your intention behind it?
Well, we all wear clothes. So let's just start with that. So people are going to get clothes. We believe that the product that we make performs very well. So you're a yogi. If you're wearing our product, you're going to be able to do your practice and be comfortable. If you're out hiking, you're going to be able to wear our product, look good, and it's going to function. Yeah. But we're also add that other effect. So it's performance, it's stylish, and then the sustainability. So we have a at least is my saying, kind of the bigger we get, the more we can achieve our potential, the more good we can do, and the more bad we can take away. So we're in this business to create change. We believe we can create change. The apparel manufacturing isn't necessarily the cleanest manufacturing process in the world, and we believe we can make a change. And we have changed that through a lot of the efforts that we've had, whether it be through fair trade and Blue Sign and organic. I mean, all the things that we're doing are really limiting and minimizing the impact that apparel manufacturing has. So when you buy something from prAna, you're going to get something that looks great, something that performs, and you're going to be doing good. So we feel really great about that.
That's a win-win-win. That's good stuff. Hey, I want to wrap up by first of all, I just want to say your journey is really an incredible one. From being the kid that you were and going through the challenges that you faced, and being an athlete, and still being able to apply what you learned from early in childhood to what you do today, both as a leader of a company, but also as an individual in your life. And it's remarkable to be a president of a company who's able to reflect those values amongst everybody who works for them, and then share that with other brands. So I just want to say thank you for being the kind of person you are.
I appreciate it.
And the final question that I ask everybody who's on the show is, what does it mean to you to stay human? How do you hold on to your humanity, and what does it mean to be a human?
To me, it's really about listening and learning. My mother, God rest her soul, she was just an amazing woman, and she was interested in people. She was a humble person, extremely poor. I mean, she grew up very, very poor. My grandparents, her parents, were both deaf mutes. Running a farm in Oklahoma, extremely humble. And I learned from my mother and my family that everybody's path is their path. Everybody's experiences shape who they are, and never to judge. Never to judge, and listen. And it's a lot of what you say, Michael. I mean, it really is about asking questions and learning about people, and acceptance. There's no right or wrong. And I think that's the problem with humanity. A lot of humanity today is that people are taking sides at a rate that that quite frankly frightens me. And there aren't any sides. We're all on one side. We are human beings, and it sometimes it might be naive of me to feel that way, or to think that way. But I really believe that we have a common purpose, right? And you can't accept that until you learn about your fellow humans. And I love the stories. I love talking to people. I don't care where they came from. To bring people that are coming from way different experiences than me, because that's how I'm going to learn. And that's how I'm going to be a better human.
Yeah, that's awesome. I share your ideals around that, and it's been really super great to talk to you. And what are things that people should know that are coming up for prAna, and how they can keep in touch with prAna, and where they can find the products themselves?
Well, we are really stoked. This 2021 is going to be a great year for us. Last year was tough for everybody. We've got our optimistic, goggles on this year, but I'd say from a pure brand standpoint, we're going to continue to innovate in sustainability. As I mentioned, we'll be 100% plastic free by the end of this year. Beginning of next year, every single product that you purchase from prAna, at the end of this year, really beginning of 2022, we'll have at least one sustainable attribute. So that's a good thing. And I'd say if your product, our product really performs well and looks great. I would encourage anybody to get out and give it a shot. Yeah. prAna.com, or visit a retailer that carries our product. You'll be happy. We always say that those that know us love us. Those that don't love us haven't met us yet. So come on over, come join the party.
All right. Hey, this has been Russ Hopkins. He's the president of prAna, and this is the Stay Human podcast. Thanks for being here today, Russ. And I'm sure there's a lot of people who maybe have heard about prAna, but now that they've heard your story and know what the company is all about, are going to feel a deeper investment, or at least some excitement about getting to know who you guys are. So thanks for being here and sharing your wisdom and your personal experiences on the show today.
I appreciate that, Michael. Thank you very much. Really enjoyed it.
Right on. Take care. Peace.
Peace.